You've been lounging with Skipper. You've been lounging with Skipper.
Oh, man.
Yo, what's going on, everybody?
What you doing, Skip? What you doing?
Yo, check it out, y'all. I want to welcome you all to another episode of Loungin with Skip. Episode 20. Today, I'm sitting here with a legend in the game. You know, this man's been doing so much in the industry, and it's funny how we met, and I'll break that down eventually later on in the podcast. Well, first off, let me just say, welcome, Blair Underwood.
Thank you, good brother. Thank you, good brother. I feel like I need a cigar or something. I'm sitting here lounging with Skip. Can I get some red wine and some cigars and whatnot?
Man, you know what? I should get some wine.
You should get some wine. I'm telling you.
I should get some wine real quick.
No. But next time for your next guest.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm sitting here with
And
Blair
cigars.
Underwood.
Don't forget the cigars.
Well, I can't. That's my cigars up here.
All right.
So yeah, I appreciate you showing up. You know what I'm saying? We've been talking about this for a minute. You know what I mean? And just having you come through. And I'm still like in shock that you're actually here and you're on the episode, man. You know what
Lounging
I mean?
with Skip.
Yeah.
Nah, man, it's my pleasure.
Yeah.
My pleasure.
So this podcast is pretty much about talking to different people about their journey to being successful and what it is that they do. And to bring inspiration to those that may need that inspiring story for them to to further them along in their journey.
Right.
Now I know that you have a good story, real important and necessary story for those people to listen and hear, and that's why I wanted you to come on and be a part of the podcast. So I appreciate you.
No, man, it's my pleasure, man. I'm inspired by what you're doing, creating your own podcast. We talk a lot about that over the years. It's been years now. Just finding your own way and making your own way, and not waiting for somebody else to hand you an opportunity or give you an opportunity, but to create your own opportunity. And I see you doing that with your podcast, getting your voice out there, getting your ideas out there, your thoughts, your vision. So nah, man, I'm glad to be a part of it.
So tell me a little bit about, so where are you from?
I don't know, man. Depends on the day.
Depends on the day? The East Coast or the West
East
Coast?
No, East Coast.
Okay.
East Coast mainly, I'd say Virginia. I spent most of my life growing up in Virginia. But my dad was Army.
Okay.
So I grew up on military bases as a little kid. And then we lived in Germany when I was 3 years old.
Really?
Virginia.
Do you remember?
Nah, I was 3. I don't remember none of that. But Colorado, Michigan, Kansas, Georgia.
Okay.
Mostly Virginia.
Okay. Mostly Virginia.
Most Virginia. Then my dad retired, right when I went to college. So I'm talking about, 85, 80, 83, 84. 83, he retired. And they stayed there. So we get back.
That's where home is.
Home is Petersburg. So we get back every Christmas. And as it turns out, I'm shooting a movie now in Baltimore. So part of the reason I said yes to that, because it's just like a little cameo.
Being at home.
Yeah. See my folks, my dad is 83. 86. I'm sorry, 86.
Wow.
My mom's 82.
Wow.
And they're still kicking. So man, every chance I get to go home and
That's
see
a
them,
blessing.
it is a blessing.
That's a
and
blessing.
I recognize that. So I try to get home and see them as often as I can.
Were you what sparked your interest in acting? Was it was there something like when you were a little kid that you just said I want to act? Like,
Yeah.
what were some experiences for you early on, like in grade school, that inspired you or intrigued you to want to act?
Man, I think it was real simple, to be honest with you. Everybody I knew would watch TV and movies, and certainly me. I'd see anybody on TV or anybody in the movies, and that seemed like that was the thing to do. That'd be something anybody would aspire to do. Or I speak for myself. I looked at that and I saw, especially other kids on TV. I was like, well, man, how do I? I'd ask my mom, how do I get in that box called the TV? I want to do that. And that's kind of where it started. Then you see, people working and playing characters, becoming different people. That was one thing. But
in
then
the box.
And then the box. I want to be in that box. And then now it's a rectangle, but it was a box back in the day. But then I'd see actors in their lives, and not just the movies or the TV shows, but you learn about what they were doing, going to the premiere or going to the store or, all of the gossip rags, whatever. But it intrigued me what that life and that lifestyle was like for those people that lived in the box.
Who were some of the, like the kids at that time?
I can tell you, Adam Rich was the one kid. Yeah, I don't know if any of you, if your listeners remember this or not, but there's a show called 8 is Enough.
Yeah, I remember that.
When I was a kid, remember that? Mm-hmm. And there was a talk show back in the day. This is before The View and everything, but it was called, Mike Douglas was his name.
Okay.
And I saw this kid, Adam Rich, at 7, 8 years old on the Mike Douglas show. And
that's the kid on 8 is Enough.
That was the kid. That was the youngest kid on 8 is Enough. Yeah.
Yeah.
You remember that?
Yeah, I do.
Wow. So yeah,
so the family was all the kids, and it was that one guy. I forgot his name.
Dick Van Patten, I think it was. Yeah, and they had 8 kids, and that was the whole point. 8 is enough.
Yeah.
But I remember I was watching him on the Mike Douglas show, and he was just talking about how he got in the business, and he inspired me. I was like, well, man, if he could do it. And that's another thing, I never saw race as an impediment. So if I saw this little white boy do it, that's why I can do it too. It wasn't like, well, I'm black, so maybe I can't. No, I can do it too. So that was one of the earliest memories I have, just seeing other kids kind of doing what what became an aspiration, that I wanted to do that.
So you said when you were seeing them in their outside lives and on the red carpets, what were some of the actors that you noticed on the outside of that box? They were on the box, but it wasn't in character mode. What were some of the people that you looked at?
Yeah, my access then was Jet Magazine, primarily. And one of them is actually a friend of mine who's become like my little sister. She hates that, but my sister, I'll say that. It's Kim Fields.
Okay.
Because she was in the game before I was in the game. She's younger than me, but she started at 5, 6, 7 years. Yeah, and before that she was Miss Butterworth. You can Google it. Miss Butterworth syrup.
I think I remember seeing that commercial.
Yeah, little.
Yeah.
I don't know if she had missing teeth or whatever else, but Miss Butterworth. And I remember watching her, thinking, again, that's another kid. I'd love to do that one day. But I remember reading an article in Jet Magazine just about her going to school, and I was like, well, if you're famous, you're in movie, you're on television. Because at that point, you're right. It was The Facts of Life, Tootie, and then later on, she's had success and continues to work to this day. I was like, well, how do you go to school when you're on TV? And people ask you for autographs all the time, or sweating you, or I remember thinking about her, talking about her going to church. Like, how does that work? So basically, it was like just the fascination and the interest in how do you navigate through the world when you work in an industry where I learned it's just a job, but millions of people watch you do your job.
Okay. So that's what kind of brought the aspiration for you to become, the interest.
It seemed accessible to me. It seemed like something fun. In the basics of terms, it just seems like something fun to do. So
did that lead to anything in grade school for you? Did you like, hey, you know what, like it's a play going on at school, maybe I could be in it?
Yeah, another inspiration was my brother Frank. Now, Frank is 3 years older than I am.
Okay.
And he was doing plays at school. He was doing, I think it was Guys and Dolls. He was doing Guys and Dolls. We lived up in Michigan. He was in high school, I was in junior high school, and just, I would hear him tell stories. Every night, we slept in the same room. We had bunk beds. And he would tell me about, like, what it was like at play rehearsal. So I'd hear about, like, the process of the auditions, and then, the process of rehearsals, and like who's zooming who's kissing who's hooking up, and who got in a fight that day, and then then transitioning to opening night and the lights and technical week when you set everything in place, and putting the costumes on. But it was and then to opening night. But it was the whole process that I heard and lived vicariously through my older brother first.
And how old were you at this time?
I was 15, 16. He was like, no, I was 13, 14. He was 16, 17.
Okay.
And so I lived vicariously through him. I'd listen to him and just listen to what seemed like just an amazing process of make-believe.
Interesting.
Because it's basically make-believe. We get paid to make believe as actors.
Interesting. You got, it's interesting when I talk to different people and I trip off of their particular thing that intrigued them, that was that oomph. Whereas like with me, when I wasn't thinking about being a barber, but I was interested in how hair grew
Yeah.
That's what intrigued me on how, to cut it.
Yeah.
So it's interesting that same way that you think and that you were feeling at that age was the same way I was thinking and feeling about being a barber.
Oh man.
At that age for me.
Yeah.
And here we are in our own careers doing what it is that we do. So this was in the early 80s, so to speak.
Yep, so
exactly. And so
late 70s actually.
Late 70s.
Yeah.
Okay, so how old were you when you did your first play, or when you decided to say, let me embark on this?
First play was in school. I was 15 years old, so I did some plays in junior high school, then did plays in high school. But while I was in high school, I started doing local dinner theaters.
What's that?
Local dinner theaters, good question. Theaters, this was in Richmond, Virginia. So there are theaters where you eat dinner, and then after you eat dinner, in this case, you'd go upstairs and there'd be a theater, and you'd watch a play. So it's a dinner and a play.
So were you eating dinner, or was it?
No, just the patrons would come in and they'd eat dinner.
And then come upstairs and watch the.
So you go to the restaurant, but the restaurant has got a show.
Interesting.
Right, so it's dinner theaters. That's a good question. People don't usually ask that, but I can't assume everybody. That's a good question.
That's interesting.
So that's where I started. So I was doing that in high school. So I did 2 plays there, two years in a row. And the first one was Finian's Rainbow with my sister Marlo, my younger sister Marlo, and myself. And I'd go to school all day, and then we'd come home, and I'd pick her up, and we'd go to rehearsal, or we'd do the play that night. And I remember that was my first time getting paid for a gig. And I got paid $75 per week. I think for the longest I saved that first check. I don't know what happened to it, but I framed it.
When you did your first play, your first day of practice for the play, how did that feel for you? Do you remember that feeling when you said, "Okay, I'm actually about to start this and do this"?
Honestly, I don't remember the first play. I mean, I was like 6th grade, the very first play I did. It was like a Thanksgiving.
The very first one where you got paid.
Where I got paid, okay. Yeah, Finian's Rainbow.
How did that feel?
Yeah, you know what? I felt like, because I was a junior in high school, so I think I was 16 at the time. And I felt like I was embarking upon that path, at least of exploring what I think I might want to do. I thought I wanted to do it for my whole life, but you don't really know, But I knew I wanted to definitely take that path and pursue that
and
journey.
To see that you got paid for it.
Yeah,
that made it
exactly. That I would get paid. I said, okay, so this is the professional world, and that was the beginning and life changing.
So throughout high school, you're doing plays, dinner theaters. Did you embark on any plays at school? In high school?
Yeah, I did one because my teacher, her name was Marie Manigo, Maniego, Marie Manigo, one of my mentors of life to this day. Thank God to this day she's still around. She's still hanging. But yeah, she had a company downtown Petersburg, Virginia, called Playmaker Fellows. So I could actually, I did a couple plays with them, but also at school because she was also my English teacher. Okay. And we did Carousel. In fact, my brother was there. He played a character called Jigga. We call him Jigga the nigga. But and I played Enoch Snow, Mr. Snow. Okay. And but yeah, that was one of the few plays I did at Petersburg High School with my brother. So
here it is. You're in a play, and then afterwards, now you're going back to class the next day or that next week. Now you're in school. Are people, seeing you in school and say, "Hey, Blair, hey"?
Nah, because you know what? It was a different world. I mean, it really was. I mean, my friends weren't going to see theater, at all. I had a crush on my teacher. I tried to invite her to come see. She never made it down. But
so it was kind of like another world for you. To kind of be something other than what everyone else knows you by, and that in itself is what was kind of an escape, kind of. For you to in the make-believe world, so to speak, because you knew that they weren't coming to see you, so it kind of gave you that place of exploring as a character, as another person.
Nah, you're right. And I was very involved in high school. I was actually president of our student government in my senior year, so I was very much involved in the school. But I also knew, I played football from 3rd grade up until 10th grade. Okay. So all my childhood, I played football. My dad was a big athlete in college and high school and everything. And I thought I was going to play football for a while. And I just, after, it was like my 8th year of playing when we first moved to Petersburg, Virginia. And I was in 10th grade. And I just, I did like the first couple of weeks of training and conditioning and everything. And I lost my heart. And I remember thinking, I said, you know what? I'm projecting into the future. I'm thinking, if I play football now, if I reach the pinnacle of success in football, if I make it to the Super Bowl, by age 30, I'm old. Whereas if I choose this acting path, 30 is young. I can act the rest of my life. So I just remember thinking, I said, you know, I'm gonna shift gears and pursue this acting thing at that time. And I was in 10th grade at that time in high school.
It's a very smart decision that you made, because you know that led to bigger and better things.
Yeah,
of course.
Yeah.
And
thank you.
And you weren't, you know, you didn't get hurt. You know what I'm saying? Like in football or something like that, you can, you know, you can go out, you can,
and it's a wrap.
Yeah, and it's done. And now, what are you gonna do? Hopefully, your education comes into play, and I mean, you can still act, but you know, now what?
Yeah.
So you graduated from high school. Now what? Now it's time to embark on college. What did you plan on doing? Did you get any type of scholarship? Like, did you go to a art school?
Nah, man, I wish I got a scholarship. Yeah, no, I went to school in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, by the name of Carnegie Mellon University. And they're known for, I would say, 70% technology and engineering and science, and 30% fine arts.
Okay.
So again, I knew without a shadow of a doubt at that point I wanted to pursue this acting thing. And so I auditioned. They only accept very few.
Auditioned to go to the school.
Carnegie Mellon. Yeah, it's considered one of the top schools in the country for theater and science and engineering. And so I think at that point, man, it was like 300 or 400 people auditioned for a class of 15. Now it's like thousands of people auditioned. It's crazy.
300 to 400 people auditioned to be in a class of 15.
15. That was in 1982.
Wow.
So it's a whole different dance now.
So you made it in the class.
I was grateful I got. People asked, "Why'd you go to Carnegie Mellon?" I said, "Because I got in."
Wow.
I got in.
In a class of 15, over 300, 400 people.
Yeah. And it was a music theater major. Because going back to when I was doing dinner theaters, I did dinner theater at a place called the Swift Creek Mill Playhouse. And I'll never forget, there was an actress by the name of Eloise LeBron who I talked to. I always gravitated towards people who were older than me and wiser than me. So I could learn. I'm always looking to learn and pick their brains. And you know, now I'm 54 now. I think she was like in her early 30s or late 20s, but she was older than me. But she said to me at the time, she said, "You got, if you want to pursue this acting career, you got to become what they call a triple threat." I said, "What the hell? What is a triple threat?" She said, "You got to learn how to sing, dance, and act, because that way you have more opportunities to be employed. If you're not getting any acting gigs, maybe you get a dancing gig. If you can't have a dancing gig, maybe you get a singing gig." So I took her seriously. And pursued that. So I auditioned for Carnegie Mellon as a music theater major. So you had to learn those disciplines of music, singing, dancing, and acting. So if you ever watched the movie Fame, it was like that.
Yeah.
At a college level.
Really?
So we had to learn how to play the piano. We had piano lessons. We had voice lessons. We had dance lessons every day. Acting lessons every day. So it was like a conservatory.
Right.
Of sorts. But it was tough, man. It was tough.
I can believe it was tough.
Woo! But I loved it. I loved it because it forced me to grow. And it challenged me.
So you had to be very disciplined to go to the school. It wasn't any kicking it and hanging out.
Nah, man.
It was really just about handling this business.
That's intense, man, because acting is all about the craft of acting. It's all about tapping into your emotions and projecting those emotions and telling a story with that. But you have to be vulnerable emotionally. So you're talking about, you 16, 17, 18, 19-year-old kids, really. And it's almost like every acting class I'm talking about. Not to get all the dancing and singing and the piano and everything else, but it's about understanding your emotional map, your personal emotional map, and how to navigate that and how to push those buttons. That's what technique is. People talk about what's your technique. Technique is how do you reach into yourself, tap those emotions, and bring it to the fore and present it to an audience.
Now, how were you able to do that at such an early age? And And when you began to do that, did that kind of scare you, so to speak? Like, oh, like for instance, if you were 17 years old, 18 years old, and you found yourself acting in front of people and you're like really crying,
yeah,
doesn't that, something like that, as being 17, 18 years old, you can say, hold a minute, what's going on here? Because you just tapped into something that you didn't know that you were able to tap into within yourself. Now you're able to, you're kind of learning more about yourself at a fast rate.
That's brilliant, brother. No, that's exactly what it is. That's what
it is.
Training is. What you just expressed was training. You know, you don't have to train to be an actor. I mean, really, the best lessons, I did, but you don't have to. The best education is being dialed into real life, studying human nature around you, studying people, human beings, and behavior, and really analyzing, why did that person do that? I've always been fascinated by human behavior. If I couldn't have been an actor, I would have been a psychologist. Because I'm always curious of what, you know.
And that's why we have conversations.
Yeah.
Because that's my thinking. It's always, well, why did the person do this, or what made them, come across that, or what made them be this, It's always a why.
There's always a why.
Yeah.
That's right. There's always one. I got that from my dad, and often at times I think, we as a people, we can jump to, well, that's because I have a conversation with my kids.
Conclusion.
I have 3 kids, 21-year-old son, 19-year-old daughter, and a 17-year-old son. They're finding their way in the world. And it's easy sometimes to say, well, they did that is it because I'm black? Well, it might be, but not necessarily. But I love the fact that they're asking the question. Always ask why.
Right.
Because sometimes it ain't even about you. Sometimes that person's just having a bad day.
Exactly.
But anyway.
But that in itself is what taps, like you said, taps a person into acting. Because it's like you said, it's much more than just stand in front of and learn these lines and act and say them. It's about acting and feeling and taking on the character of that person. So being at a young age like that, you were conditioning and disciplining yourself to mentally take yourself to a place like that at an early age.
That's exactly
which basically leads me, which is the segue, into you taking on the role of Russell Simmons in Crush Groove. You put yourself, and that's like sometimes a person can they can start their first gig off, whatever, just being just a regular, hey man, whatever as a regular person, but you started your first one of your first major movies.
That was the first.
Yeah, okay, your first major movie as somebody who's around today, who's a mogul in the hip hop, who was a mogul in the hip hop community, and you were taking on the role of him, so you had to go there, and that's why that movie is a classic. Now, before we even get to that, now you were in the Bill Cosby Show. That was done first.
That was first, then Cosby Show.
How did you?
then Crush Groove.
How did you land that?
Man,
were you on there a couple episodes or just one?
2 episodes.
Okay.
But the first one, man, was literally my second day in New York. Long story short, I was in my 3rd year at Carnegie Mellon. My junior year, I couldn't afford to stay. So, I talked to my folks about it, and they said, well, maybe that's a sign from God. Maybe it's your time and turn to go to New York, see what happens. So I got in touch with a friend of the family. I found a place where I could stay. I went back to Virginia because I'd gone up just looking for a job. I was looking for a waiter's job or something else and looking for a place to stay.
In New York?
In New York. So I said, I can't afford to go back to Carnegie Mellon. I'm in my 3rd year, my junior year. This is Christmas, the middle of my junior year. So, my mom drove up with me.
Right.
Mom and
so
I.
this Christmas break.
And I said, times are kind of tight financially. My brother was in college. I was in college. Both of us were in college. My dad was an army officer, so he made too much money, so-called, for financial aid. They wouldn't give me financial aid. He made too much money, but it was too tight to put 2 kids in college. No scholarships, nothing. So I said, I gotta drop out. I basically I dropped out. Middle of my 3rd year, went up to New York with my mom in a blizzard because we had some friends in New York, and D.R. Henderson, and she said her mother lives there. Her name is Elsie Rudder. I'm hopefully gonna see next week. Actually, I haven't seen her in 15 years. She's like 90-something years old. But she said, you can stay at my place in Brooklyn, And I said, look, I'll sleep in the corner. I just need someplace I can just stay so I can go knock on doors and just say, please hire me, you know. And got some leads on some jobs, some waiter jobs, and went back. And
first day.
First day. Okay. And who told me? Somebody turned me on to my dance teacher, Billy Wilson, at Carnegie Mellon. Okay. Said, when you leave college, let me introduce you to my agent in New York. So I called him up at Christmas and said, look, you said when I graduated, I wasn't graduating. I said, I got to leave. Can I take you up on that? Introduce me to your agent. He said, absolutely. So that Christmas, my mom and I went over to his house in New Jersey.
The agent?
Billy Wilson's house.
Okay.
He turned us on to the agent. I went to meet with the agent. She said, by the way, this is 1985, first year of the Cosby Show, which was a huge phenomenon. And we go over there, go over to the agent, and they said, you know what? Let me take your number down. You know, it's good to know. You know, we'll see what can happen. My mom and I went back to Virginia. 2 days later, this agent that Billy Wilson had turned me on to, my dance teacher, Carnegie Mellon, had turned me on to, they called up and said, can you make it up to New York, like, in 2 days, like on Friday, to meet Mr. Cosby? I was like, whoa. Or to audition. It was basically audition. I said, well, yeah, we're going to move up next week anyway. So I said, okay, we got to truncate everything, and we're going to move up to New York. We're going to go. I remember I was in the kitchen. I turned to my dad. I said, can we go? He said, tell him, yeah. We'll figure it out. So I went up to New York for my final move. So that was my first official day in New York. And I met Mr. Cosby, and the car was just a walk-on. So I didn't have to rehearse nothing. Just a walk-on. So they're looking for a look, really. I played Lisa Bonet's boyfriend. And this was Wednesday. They taped on Thursday. So Thursday, which was my second day living in New York, I was taped on the Cosby Show by the grace of God, man.
Was that the episode when the dancing one?
Yeah. Okay. I just walked in the door, and we were like, all the friends were going out to see a concert or something. We were all dancing in the living room. And the great Judith Jameson, great dancer from Alvin Ailey, she was on that episode also. But yeah, so the challenging thing was the next day. So I had to come off this big high Thursday night, my second day in New York, being on the Cosby Show, their first season, so it was a huge hit. Now I'm like, okay, now I'm in New York. What do? I gotta get an agent. The blessing was because the Cosby Show happened so fast, the agent said, well, I think we might want to sign you. You might want to sign this young brother. Yeah. So they started sending me out to different things, and out of that sequence of events came the Crush Groove audition.
Okay, now, first off, God had his hand on you. Okay? He had his hand on you. This was definitely your calling. That was definitely a sign from God. When we had this kind of conversation. To know that your second day in New York, and you get on the Cosby Show, and then the next day after that, you come off that high, and you're like, I need to get an agent, and they're like, we'll sign you. And then right after that, you get Crush Groove playing the main lead.
That was a blessing.
And that's a monumental movie in the hip hop. And hip hop was just coming up in a commercial way.
Yeah.
And you were like in the forefront of that movement as Russell Simmons. Which takes me to me at that age being 8 years old, 9 years old. Yeah. I'm 9 years old. Listening to hip hop. Listening to Fat Boys, Run DMC. I see this movie trailer come on, TV, showing scenes or whatnot, and Run DMC, what? And Curtis Blow, what? And it's like Crush Groove, rated R. And I was like, damn, I can't go to the movies and see it. I'm too young. But, so now, back then you go to the record store, you get the vinyl, I'm seeing the Crush Groove record.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at the front cover of the record, I see, I don't know if Beastie Boys on the front of it, but Sheila E., Fat Boys, Run DMC, Curtis Blow, and maybe somebody else. But I'm like, well, who was this guy in the middle?
Who is this nigga
I'm like, who is he? Who is this? I was like, okay, well, whatever.
Yeah.
Keep in mind, I haven't seen the movie yet. My first was hearing the music.
Right.
So my thing was, who is this guy? And then I look on the back and you can see the clips of the movie, like maybe 6 clips not movement clips, but pictures of the movie, and it was some of the scenes that you were in from the pictures with like Run. And I'm like, huh? Like what? Like this man, this movie's probably dope. I'm listening to the music, the album was dope. I finally, some kind of way, was able to see the movie. And that's when I was like, what? And the one of the best scenes, well, for one, when Grant was like, don't let me break you to your knees,
Russ. The great Richard Gant.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, man.
I mean, and even to the point where when the dudes full force when came in and beat up you and Run. Just me as a kid seeing that, man, it was dope, man. And the fact that you was actually in there with Rick Rubin. Now, did you even know at that time for you in hip hop, what was your thoughts on this? Was this like, I just do this movie? You're like, oh, whatever. Like, what did it do for you? What did it speak to you being on set with these guys? And this is your first main movie.
You know, man, it was life changing in a lot of ways. Because it was a big break. It was a big studio film. I knew that. You know, I of course knew the positioning and the fame of Curtis Blow and Run DMC and even the Fat Boys. I mean, they were huge at the time. I was excited to work with Sheila E. You know, because the same director, Doug McHenry produced it, and George Jackson. They were the producers on it, but it was the same production team that had done The Last Dragon with Time Out. The Vanity was in.
Right.
So I was like, I remember watching Time Out thinking, he gets a kiss up.
That's interesting because it had that same kind of look to it too.
Yeah, Michael Schultz was the director on that. Wow. So Michael Schultz cast me in Crush Groove. But so he did that, and I was thinking like, man, he got the kiss on Vanity. And then I found out Sheila E. was doing this one. I said, oh man, I'll do this one for free. I'm good with that. Right. So it was, I say all that to say, it was a huge deal for me as a young actor, just new to the game, and just come to New York.
Just in that time in movies and period, I mean, Purple Rain was coming
that's
out.
Right, that's
Joy
right.
just came out at that time. Like, it was one of those movies, man. Those staple movies.
Beat Street had just come out too. So it was kind of on the heels of Beat Street at the time.
Breaking,
all that.
It was all a part of that, man. Do you remember? And I'm speaking right now from the hip hop fans that like, oh, for real, that really want to know these types of answers. How long of a shoot was that? Like, do you remember? Was that like?
Man, I don't remember. I'd say like maybe 4 weeks. I'm guessing. I don't even remember, but I'd say probably about 4 weeks.
So when that was done, keep in mind, you seen LL. I mean,
there was LL too, because LL was 16 at the time.
Yeah.
So he was just coming out with my radio. He had just come out with. In fact, it was premiered and debuted in the movie.
And he said box.
Yeah, that's right.
Were you in there that day? You was in the room that day? Yeah, because
that day. Mama sure, yeah.
I think that was when you had Andre Harrell in there, man. It was a bunch of people in that movie, man.
Everybody was up in that. Looking back on it, man, it's such an honor to have had that opportunity, the chance, man.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. That was a blessing from God, man. That was a blessing because what that did was spark a new generation of kids
completely
growing with you now at this point.
Yeah, that's right.
Into your career.
That's right. I did want to say, we're talking about the musicians and their level of fame at that time, but also, man, at that time, hip hop was considered 8 years old. And there were questions even then, would hip hop last? Could it last? But I have to tell you, aside from the musicians, Russell himself had a huge level of respect and high regard in the industry. He's only 7 years deep into it, really. So nobody knew any of these people would last this long and be iconic. Russell, and nobody knew what Russell even looked like at the time.
Def Jam is still around to this day.
Yeah, to this day.
Based off of that movie. Yeah,
man. But the good thing was, from an acting standpoint, nobody really knew what Russell looked like, so I didn't have to pretend to be somebody else. But no, he really took me under his wing, man, and took me out to clubs. He said, "You got to see what I do."
Really?
And also see how I interact with people and just see my world.
Really?
So we would go to clubs and just I would just be quiet and just watch. And you walk into a room, man. Everybody. Russell, Rush, Rush, hey man, everybody loved Russell, And I gotta say, let me jump forward to right now, today. All these years later, I just finished doing a movie with Russell that he produced. That's about. It's coming out, I think, in August on Netflix. And it's called The After Party. You know, I don't. You know,
what are the odds of that? You know,
what are the odds of that? What are the odds of that? And it's about a young rapper played by the rapper Kyle. And it's all kind of like Ferris Bueller's Day Off. It's like a day in the life. He's trying to get a record deal. And I play Kyle's dad. So it's just and Russell's one of the producers on it.
That's dope.
But it's just kind of cool all these years to come full circle to work in that camp and back in New York in the hip hop story, and you know, it's very cool.
So, so after Crush Groove and things of that nature, what was life for you like now, and what was the plan? What headspace were you in, and what was the motive now?
You know what? I just remember everybody telling me at that time, run was one of them, and agents, ride this wave as long as you can. My main thing, man, was I just didn't want it to end. I didn't want this to be a one-time shot. I didn't want to be a one-hit wonder. You know, I don't want people to say, whatever happened to
that one guy?
That yeah, who was that? Who was that? So that's been a driving force for me my whole career. You know, if you're gonna be in the game, make a mark in the game. You know, make moves, be remembered. You know,
you've done that.
Yeah, well, thank you, brother. But I remember at that time thinking, like, how do I sustain this? How do I build a career from this? And at that point, it was just about working, because things happen fast, man. I mean, college show happened fast. That was all my first year. That was 1985. That was all my first year in the game. So I just wanted to build and learn and grow and knew there'd be some dry times, but just I knew this was what I wanted to do.
What was the time in between Crush Groove and LA Law?
I did a soap opera in New York called One Life to Live. I played a character named Bobby Blue. And even that, because mind you, I'd been trained in the theater. My first gig was theater in Richmond, Virginia, Petersburg, Virginia. Then I went to school and studied theater. So my whole thing was always focused on theater.
So soap operas are like theater?
Well, no. Well, the thing was, I remember so many of my friends at the time, you know, there was a lot of them very much looked down on soap operas. You know, you're a thespian. You should be doing Shakespeare and, you know, great theater. You know, why would you blow yourself and do soap operas? I was like, damn that. My whole thing is I wanted to work. And the more you work, the more you learn. Now, you have to be cognizant of the fact that in those days, I feel like an old man, but back in those days, truly, there was a distinction between being a soap opera actor, daytime actor, being a nighttime actor, and being a movie actor. Very seldom could people make that transition from one to the other. To this day, a lot of actors that stay on soap operas, it's very hard for people to buy them in a nighttime series. Now, Lawrence Fishburne started in soaps, I started in soaps, and there are a lot of actors who have come through, but they didn't stay and make their mark in daytime television. I had ventured to say you probably could today, but back then people just weren't giving you that option. You know, they'd peg you.
Plus now, you know, compared to back then, it wasn't as much content, of course, as it is
Wasn't
now.
much, exactly. Nowadays, it's a beautiful thing, man. Nowadays, you can be an actor and you can work in many different mediums. Then it was very, very rare to do that. So I just knew I wanted to do it because I wanted to learn. It's one of the best training grounds, man, because they give you pages of dialogue and you got to crank it out the next day. And sometimes if something goes wrong, you got to shoot it live, which happened once.
On One Life to Live?
One Life to Live. You got to shoot it live. So it's you know,
so
it can freak it out. But yeah, and if you think of it like that, live theater, it's just theater. But like theater, you got to be prepared. If you don't know your lines, if you don't know what you're doing,
so what if you mess up?
It can be terrifying. Then the world sees you mess up.
Really?
And tune in tomorrow. I'll fix it tomorrow. I'll do something new tomorrow.
Really?
Yeah. So between Cosby and
Crush Groove and LA Law.
No, you know what? My bad. One Life to Live came after Crush Groove.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
That's right. You said after Crush Groove. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Then LA Law. That's right.
Right.
That happened in between that and LA Law.
Now, what led you into LA Law? Because okay. Speaking of which, what you just said. So you went from daytime to nighttime.
Right.
So now you're crossing. So now it's showing agents like, man, he can do daytime, nighttime, and he just did a movie.
Yeah, but honestly, most actors can. It's just given the opportunity to show that you can do it.
Once again, God.
That's God, man.
That's God.
I
Come on,
attribute
man.
all to God.
It's all God, man. Just kind of putting it.
Nothing but.
It's like beaming down on you to. I'm pretty sure a lot of actors out right now you have inspired. I know for a fact.
Wow.
So LA Law, how did that come about? Simple, just the agent, and they just got you to.
Yeah, man. I'd been out in California, so I came out here to do a.
Okay, so you was in. Okay,
I was in New York. I was still in Brooklyn,
One
New York.
Life to Live was New York.
New York, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we shot that in Manhattan, in New York. So I had auditioned for a show on CBS called Downtown, which starred Mariska Hargitay, who's made such a name for herself now in Law and Order SVU.
Okay.
But I put myself on tape in New York, and then they called me out because I got the part, and we shot it here in California. So we did the pilot, and the pilot, of course, is just the one episode, and the network will look at that one episode, and then they'll decide they're going to invest in more episodes.
You've been going through that since.
Hey, bro, yeah, that's the name of the game, man.
Interesting.
So we did the pilot for Downtown, and then I waited like 4 or 5 months to went back to New York. They told me that, they're gonna pick it up as a series. I was like, wow. So that's when I moved out to California to do the series of Downtown on CBS. It was in the 80s, 1987.
So that's okay. So that actually happened.
So that series happened.
Okay.
And so that's what brought me out here, and I ended up staying out here. So about a year later, less than a year later, they're having auditions for this show, LA Law. When we did Downtown, that was the first year of LA Law. Now, LA Law was the #1 show on television.
Right.
I was doing Downtown.
Okay.
Then Downtown got canceled. Then the second season of LA Law.
That's when you came on.
I came on the second season of LA Law.
Interesting.
So the first year I was doing another show. I was off the market. So now I'm available, and they're casting for this new black young lawyer. And I'll never forget, man. I wrote this out recently because Stephen Bochco, who created LA Law, who's the icon of television, passed away about 5-6 months ago. And I wrote a tribute to him. He gave so many actors in this industry their break. He created Hill Street Blues. He created LA Law, NYPD Blue, and so many more. But anyway, when the breakdown,
it's funny because LA Law had the same time slot as like Hill Street Blues.
Thursday nights at 10. That's right. That's exactly right. So they send out the breakdown, which is basically when casting directors, they tell you what type they're looking for. And on the breakdown, they said they wanted somebody 27 to 28, no younger, no older. African American, this, that, and the other. I was 21 at the time. So long story short, I went in, I remember I auditioned, and then I came back, said, yeah, we like that. We came back, and you're going to read for Stephen Bochco. I came back and read for him and Terry Louise Fisher, who also created the show with him. And auditioned, ended up found out the next day I got the part. But I just remember being a nervous 21. I remember I was just watching that first. I haven't seen it in years. My kids, we went out to dinner last night. My kids, somehow that came up. And they wanted to see us. We Googled it, that first scene.
The first scene?
The very first scene.
Okay.
And I told them, I said, that scene changed my life.
How so?
Because it was the very first scene, my very first day on that show. And I knew I was much younger than they were looking for. And I thought, man, I thought they were gonna fire me after they saw me on camera. Because they said, he looks too young.
Really?
Yeah, man, I thought they were gonna fire me for sure. And it wasn't until the show aired, and I didn't hear anything. And like that first week, Stephen Bochco came up to me. I remember he put his arm around me and he said, "How's it feel to know you have a home for the next 5 years?" Because it was a hit show. They knew it was gonna run for years. And I never told anybody for 5 years until it was over that he had said that to me. So I said, at any point, they could just fire me, And by the grace of God, man, it ended up being 7 years. And that
7 years on that show?
7 years in that show, yeah. The show ran for 8, but, I came on being the second year, and I did the show for 7 years. But it changed my life, and it opened up doors that are open to this day. Because you gotta have a point. You have to have a point of reference. You have to say, I remember him from somewhere. So there was Crush Groove first.
And see, Crush Groove was for the urban,
different
hip-hop
audience,
right?
Yeah.
When LA Law, that's like what sparked America. Not mid America, but like my mom.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like she was like, "Who is he?" Back then, you know what I mean? Like 9 o'clock at night, man. She was tuned in to LA Law every Thursday, man.
Yep.
And I remember that, man. and just so it sparked America to tune into that show, and that's pretty much where like people of that gravitated
generation,
towards,
yeah,
like you said,
yeah,
that's where, like you said, that's where they noticed you.
Yep.
And then when I saw it, I was like, oh, that's old boy from Crush
Groove.
Groove.
Yeah, you knew.
But she didn't know what
Yeah.
Crush Groove was. You understand? So LA Law became successful, man. You started blowing up. Now you're like, it's like, dun, 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 dun. So now what's going on? So, you know.
What was that skip?
You know, it's Hollywood, big lights, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
LA, you're kicking it. You're young. You know what I mean?
All the candy.
Yeah,
everything
you know what I'm
want.
saying? Everything. So,
Yeah.
boom, you're living the life. You're enjoying yourself. Now what?
After that?
After LA Law is over and everything like that, you know.
Man, you know what? The last, you know, it's interesting you say that. I remember the last day of LA Law. We shot till 5 in the morning, and I remember there was a movie that I did in '94 called Just Cause.
Okay.
Sean Connery and Lawrence Fishburne. I played a serial killer, pedophile, who was accused of murdering this 12-year-old white girl in the South.
Wow.
It was a big deal because it was a big Warner Brothers, big studio film. And literally the last day of LA Law, we wrapped at 5 in the morning. And I asked my girlfriend at the time, Desiree, who's now my wife for 24 years, pack my bags. So I had to go straight from there to the plane to go to the Bahamas to rehearse the movie. So it was that during that last few months of LA Law when I was auditioning and ended up getting that role in Just Cause. And
Sean Connery,
Lawrence Fishburne, Ed Harris, Kate Capshaw, who was Steven Spielberg's wife.
Kate Capshaw, yeah.
And that's how I met him. That played itself out later years for employment because he put me in Deep Impact that he produced. But it's been a blessing. I mean, so much of it, man. I gotta tell you, it's God, but it's also being ready, being prepared when the opportunity comes, but also being humble and looking out to give other people opportunities.
Now I know for a while you became like the bad guy. You became the bad guy, the one that was beating up the women.
Bruh, my little cousin sent me a meme a few weeks ago that said, had my face and a couple other actors said, when you see this face, you know a bitch about to get slapped. I'm like, why I got to be all that? Why it's got to be all that?
Man, look, when I seen that with that Medea movie, I was like, damn. Like, I remember it was one scene.
Oh, Medea's family reunion.
Yeah, it was one scene, like, I guess you came into the room, and she was with her friend or sisters or whatever, and they were, like, having a good time, and he was like, hey, you know, you like smiling or whatever, and then I think they left, and she's like, all right now, y'all, take it. And she shut the door, and then
yeah. But you know, I remember
that, and what was O?
Oh, G. You remember G? And there was a Sunder.
I went to the movies and saw G.
Wow. There was a Sunder, which is another.
Yes. Now, speaking of that movie, that's that movie, man. Because I think about being on a Ferris wheel.
Yeah.
And your wife is pregnant.
Yeah.
And you all are, you're with another couple. You're having fun. You're chilling. You kind of feel like you're happy to be there, but you really don't really. It's not really about really being there. It's really just about spending time.
Right.
But you get on this ride. You shut it, but her blouse gets in the way of the shutting.
You did see it.
I seen this movie, man. And the fact that something so simple of just playing, and it opens up. When I saw that, it puts somebody like myself, it puts the average person in that position. What would you do?
Right.
How would you feel after something like this happens? And, and it's kind of like, in a way, you went crazy. You know what I mean?
That's right.
You went crazy because it was just like, but then it's also kind of like, were you always crazy? You know what I mean?
Do we know? We don't know that.
We don't know.
Yeah.
So we kind of look at it that he put it up on himself that it was his fault that happened.
Out of his grief.
That
triggered
turned.
something.
Yeah. So that was and then I noticed at the end of the movie, your hair was like straight.
Yep.
It was like,
and blonde.
Yeah, and blonde.
Two things I want to mention. The beauty of Just Cause, because LA Law was pretty much, a lot of roles I played during those 7 years was just good guys. Upstanding, noble Negroes. what happened on the heels of that was Just Cause, and playing that serial killing pedophile. Also, Ruby Dee, who's one of my favorite actors, was in that movie also. It opened up, for the next 10 years of my career, it opened up the opportunity to play a lot of bad guys. So then people, when they see you come up on, if they know your work, they don't know if you're gonna be a good guy or be a bad guy. So that's a gift as an actor to be unpredictable.
And then also on top of that, you know, you threw in some comedy with Malibu's Most Wanted.
Malibu's Most Wanted. Had to. But let me just say real quick, just one more thing about Asunder. Tim Reed gave me that opportunity. Tim Reed, some of y'all may remember from Venus Flytrap from WKRP in Cincinnati.
Yeah.
But he built his own studio in my hometown, Petersburg, Virginia. And this was the first film that it was produced in that studio. And he gave me an opportunity to be a producer, executive producer. So therefore that's the first thing I executive produced. So many times it's about people giving you opportunities, and that's why I try to pay it forward as often as possible. You know, to encourage other people. Just give me a shot. Just give me a chance. And anyway, but that was important because he let me become a producer. Because he couldn't pay me as an actor too much. So he said, well, you know, you have executive producer credit, but you can use that, and I have used it as a negotiating chip for the next thing. Well, what have you produced? Well, I produced this. They're not going to look to see what did you actually do, but you have that credit as a producer. You can build on that. You use it as leverage to build a career.
That's so interesting that you say that you know, you was granted that, you know, the opportunity, you gave the opportunity to be able to say that you produce or executive produce this, and sometimes you don't get that.
Oftentimes don't get that. If I may, just another quick shout out. Lou Gossett Jr. He approached me around the time, it was been 90, 92, 93, I think. And we did a movie called Father and Son. How that happened, he just reached out to me and he said, I read this article in the newspaper about a father and son meeting in jail for the first time. Let's do that movie. He had a deal with NBC at the time. He said, do you want to play the son? I was like, I'm down, because he's one of my heroes too. And we pitched the project together, went to NBC, pitched the whole project, just a movie. There's no script. Father and son meet in jail for the first time. We'll create something. They bought it. We're going to shoot it. You know, a year later, we're going to shoot it. Comes time to negotiate the contract. I said, 'cause I always knew I wanted to produce and create. Always, my dad drilled into me, as I drill into my kids now, ownership. Own what you can. You can have a job, that's fine, but build towards ownership or own a piece of something. So I knew I wanted to be a producer. So when it came time to negotiate that contract for Father and Son with Lou Gossett, I said, well, I'd like producer credit. The network said no. I was like, wait a minute, you don't have to pay me anything extra. You already pay me as an actor. I just want the credit, because I knew I could use that and leverage it towards other jobs as producers in the future. He said no. Lou Gossett stood up for me, and he said, the kid just wants a credit. What does it take away from you or the network or anybody else? I'm telling you, as a star of this, I got the deal with NBC. I'm telling you, I don't have a problem with it. So they said no, he kept pushing it, and he stood up for me, and they ended up giving me that credit. Damn. So I'll always be grateful to him and so many other people, I'm telling you, who've granted me opportunities and given me a shot. And I know that for a fact, so that's why you don't do anything on your own in this business. It's too much of a team effort. You got to treat people right, you got to respect people right, you got to do your job, you got to deliver. But you gotta look out for other people too.
So having a credit, for people out here that, you know, they're probably in the same situation or thinking about it, having a credit is more than actually having the money in the long run.
Well, I won't say it's more, but I won't say it's more, but it's as valuable.
If they want to pay somebody less money, but they'll give you credit.
Yeah.
That stands more. I mean that stands longer than.
It can, because you can use it to build a career.
Okay.
Because that's what it is. It's how do you come up?
How do you build your?
People always know, well, who are you? What have you done? What have you done?
That's what.
It always comes back to what if I don't know you, and you're not recommended by somebody, you don't come on some of the strength of somebody, you know, just saying vouching for you. What have you done? But if you can point to a list of what I did, I got a whole resume here. So that's why it's important to build that resume any way you can. So if somebody can't pay you, always say, okay, you can't pay me, but make sure I get my credit. Because you can always build on that.
That's interesting you say that. That was kind of something that happened to me. I did some music for this indie film, and they didn't pay me. But he said, I wasn't able to pay anybody on this for the music.
Yeah.
But what I can do is give you IMDb credit. I could give you credit as a composer for the film.
See, that has value.
And he did.
That has value. Because people will say to you, what have you composed?
Mm-hmm.
You can point to that.
Mm-hmm.
It's on IMDb. It's legitimate. They can do fact check it. It's legitimate.
So you've gone on to be successful. What as far as like what else after Asunder and things of that nature? Malibu's Most Wanted. That was a funny movie. What other movies have you produced? I know shows, things of that nature. What are your plans? For the future, as far as with producing or executive producing shows.
Wow, man. Well, the future is, I have a production company called Intrepid.
Okay.
Tommy Morgan's my producing partner, and we've had a chance to produce a number of things, different genres. 360 virtual reality, concert series with Megadeth,
yeah,
1980s rock thrash metal band. Who would have thought? But
right.
That, and there's a lot of different projects, and I'm grateful to say we just won the Daytime Emmy last year for a show called Give, which we have on Saturday mornings on NBC. But there are a lot of different projects. My head right now.
What season is Give in?
Give is in. We did 2 seasons. It's on hold right now.
Okay.
But I just finished doing 2 years on a show called Quantico on ABC, and they just canceled that recently. So my head right now is to always build the production company, keep building the production company. We've got about 20 different projects, different levels of development. But personally, what I want to do right now is direct again. The last film I directed was 10 years ago, 2010.
What about the movie that you did about what was it, Jesus?
Oh, The Second Coming.
Yeah,
we did that.
Tell me about that movie and how it became. It played again. It was re-released and is in New York somewhere.
DC, the Smithsonian.
Yeah, the Smithsonian.
New African American Museum in the Smithsonian.
Tell me about that.
Oh man, we did that in 1990. When was that? Well, 25 years ago, whatever math that is. But that came out of the Rodney King uprising. Some people say riots or uprising at the time. And my Uncle Bill had always told me that Jesus was a man of color. He said he was Jesus black. But he was a Middle Eastern man. He certainly wasn't blonde hair and blue eyes.
Right.
So I was always curious about society and sociology and history, race relations, cultures, and the image, just the idea of the image of Jesus. What does that mean? What does that mean to people? And if you change that image, if you take the image of Jesus and make him brown skin with, let's even put dreadlocks on it. How does that affect you? And if it does affect you as an audience member, why does it affect you? And if we can all agree that Jesus came out of the Middle East, modern day Israel, you have to ask the question, well, when are those images, when were they changed to having blonde hair and blue eyes? Blonde hair and blue eyes folks in the Middle East.
Right.
And then once you kind of analyze and study the history of images, then there's more of an intellectual conversation to be had. Does it matter? And if it matters, why does it matter?
Okay.
How we look and how we perceive each other. Why does that matter? So anyway, this film called The Second Coming, my brother wrote, and I had a chance to direct and act. And James O. Jones narrated it for us. Great Rosalind Cash.
Perfect voice.
The voice of CNN.
Right.
But we had a great cast. Pulled in a lot of my friends from college, my college buddies, acting friends, and all these years later, I think it may have been a little bit before its time.
Okay.
But all these years later, when they opened the Smithsonian, the African American Museum in Washington, D.C. a couple of years ago, last year they inducted the film into the museum, so it's now in their archives. They did an incredible screening there in the Oprah's theater.
So they re-screened it after 25 years, and you was in the theater, and everybody watching it again.
Yeah, watching it again. So it was amazing.
Is it a short film or is it?
It's a short film. It's a 30-minute short film, and then there's like an hour and a half of just behind the scenes, the making of it, because we knew we were doing something kind of controversial at the time, and so we did all those interviews then 25 years ago, just about.
So how did that feel to see that being, to here it is 25 years later, and was it the same kind of impact then that you're seeing now?
Even more so.
Now.
Even more so.
Based on the Mike Brown and Trayvon.
Mike Brown, Trayvon, I think the man we have temporarily occupying the Oval Office, and the race relations today, right. Black Lives Matter, this is where we are.
Yeah.
In some ways, we're going backwards. I think as a society. So, just the conversations that project would evoke and initiate are as relevant as they were, and sometimes more relevant.
What made you want to get into voiceover work?
It was good money. It was good. I mean, listen, man, I figure if there's an opportunity, I go back to what Eloise LeBron told me back in the day. She said be a triple threat, but her point was have as many revenue streams as possible. Come on, bro. Come on, man. How many times we talk about that? Revenue
That's
streams.
What you told me.
I told you, man. I preached that.
That's what you told me.
My attorney, Daryl Miller, told me years ago, he said he did his own unofficial survey of the wealthiest people in this country. And what he came away with thinking was you got to have at least, and the wealthiest people have at least 7 revenue streams, at least 7 different ways to make money, at least. You might have 500, but at least 7 ways to have money coming into you at any given time. So, like Eloise LeBron was onto something. She said become a triple threat, just use your talent to sing, dance, and act. But I just decided to go further with it. So you can use your voice for voiceovers or publish books or direct or produce, sing,
fashion,
dance, act, have a shoe line, a clothing line, direct, whatever. If you enjoy doing it and you're able to do it, why not? So the voiceover thing just, that was part and parcel with just acting, Same agents that send you out for auditions for film or television or theater even. The same agents that send you out to audition for.
So you're back in theater too. You did what was the play? I know me and my fiance.
The one you came to was The Trip to Bountiful with Vanessa Williams and Cicely Tyson.
Y'all turned that into a movie.
Yeah. Vanessa Williams and Cicely Tyson did it on Broadway with Cuba Gooding. 200 performances, and then we did the movie. Cuba was doing something else, so I got a chance to play that part. We did the movie, and then I took it on tour with Cicely Tyson and Vanessa Williams. We did that together. L.A. We did 6 weeks, and then Baltimore, Boston.
And then you did that play where you had the dreads. Was up in San
Diego. Othello.
Othello.
Yeah. Which was probably the most one of my favorite experiences in my entire career. Because Othello is one of Shakespeare's greatest roles, man, and it terrified me. I'm not ashamed to say it terrified me.
What did?
To play Othello.
Why?
Because it's one of the greatest roles. Because there's a lot of baggage that comes with that. Or I want to say baggage, not in a negative way, but history. So you want to do it right.
Gotcha.
Now, part of it was, I had a chance to play, do the play Streetcar Named Desire on Broadway, and Marlon Brando made that role famous. And it was interesting because he was the one person to do it, and definitively. So anybody who comes after Marlon Brando playing Stanley Kowalski is going to be compared to Marlon Brando. What was different about playing Othello is Othello's been around for 500 years, so many different actors have played Othello and done it great. People, of course, remember Paul Robeson.
They even came out with Paul Robeson.
Paul Robeson did it on the stage.
They even did the remake of it, turned into a movie with Mekhi Phifer and called it O.
Oh, I forgot about that. That's right. But Lawrence Fishburne also did Shakespeare's version of Othello.
Matter of fact,
brilliant.
That's the version I had to watch in college.
Is that right? Yeah, it's brilliant.
Back in '99.
So, unlike Streetcar Named Desire with Marlon Brando's shadow hanging over that was not the issue at all because so many actors have played it, but it was just the breadth and width and depth of the language, which I always loved. Right. I always loved Shakespeare, but just to do it and do it well, and it's one of the greatest roles.
Yeah,
and
word art, thou with I see it, my light.
Go ahead, break it down, brother.
Bring it the darkest ways. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Though that language, man, is really you have to be really in tune with it to understand it. You can't just it's so
you can't wing that. You can't improvise out of it. You can't fake that. So that's the thing. Listen, man, like I said, with acting, the theater is the actor's medium. No director can come in, no editor can come in and chop up your performance. What happens when that curtain goes up for the next hour and a half is that's you. and that cast on that stage. And if you make mistakes, you gotta get out of it any way you can. It's a high wire act. That's why I love theater. Theater's my favorite medium.
What's the most I guess your favorite movie you've done?
My favorite movie? Probably Just Cause. I say that because it was unexpected, because I played mostly good guys up to that. The reason that worked was because in the movie you're supposed to think he's a good guy. He's innocent of these. He's falsely accused, so you think. And at the end, it's a twist because you realize he actually did do these things. This rape and murder of this 12-year-old white girl. I say that because the race was a part of the issue. But that partially because of the story, but also because in playing a bad guy, being able to do that and to show, again, it's all opportunity to show that you can do it. Yeah. And then to get a chance to work with some of the great, Sean Connery? Yeah. Come on, it's James Bond and Lawrence Fishburne. These are some of the greatest actors of our time.
Is there any role that you would that you would love to
Absolutely. Marvin Gaye. Marvin Gaye, without a doubt.
That you would love to play Marvin Gaye?
Hell yeah. Yeah, I know Dr. Dre's supposed to be, they announced he's supposed to be doing his company like last month.
Oh, yeah?
So we're trying to hit him up on that.
Oh, wow. So,
I heard it might be on hold, though. So
really?
Yeah.
A Marvin movie on Marvin? That'll
Marvin
be done.
Gaye, yeah.
That'll be done. I mean, they're talking about doing a movie on Richard Pryor. It was supposed to be done, but I don't...
Oh, yeah, I heard that. I think one of the Wayans brothers is doing that.
Yeah, I also heard Mike Epps part of that, too. He might be doing
You
that.
know, Mike Epps, yeah.
What is
That's the thing. There's so much content right now.
Yeah,
That's a beautiful thing for everybody.
To just wrap things up.
Yeah.
What is something that you can tell somebody who's listening right now? I have listeners in, all over the country, and also in Canada and Italy that listen. Somebody who's at home right now listening to this that they want to pursue acting. They may be in the dumps about things, or they may be acting, but in between jobs and can't really find the next gig and is thinking about hanging it up. What is something that you would tell them if you were sitting right there with them right now to keep them going? Because there's millions of actors and actresses out there right now that, look up to you, you know what I mean? And know about you and what's something that you can give them to inspire them to keep them going?
I'd say go for broke and don't give up. That sounds like a bumper sticker, and it's more than that. By that I mean, like what we were just talking about. Right now, there is more opportunity and product and content that needs to be created and more platforms than ever before. We were talking about early days. When I was doing LA Law, there was 3 networks, ABC, CBS, NBC. Then Fox was coming along and WB was coming along. Now you got all kinds of platforms. You got your networks, you got streaming services, Amazon, Hulu, Netflix, all of that. So all of these platforms need content. They need stories to tell. YouTube, all of that. Red Bull now, everybody's creating their own content and platforms. So they need artists and creatives to create that content. So that means opportunity is my point. So I would say never, unfortunately, you can't just rely on your talent being so amazing that the world's going to bow down and just come hire you and create a career for you for the rest of your life. You got to go get it. Somebody said, don't follow your dream. Damn that. Don't follow your dream. You go stalk that sucker. Hunt that dream down and get it. And don't take no for an answer. And stay humble. For me, I'd say keep God in front of you.
Of course.
And work your butt off. But and look for mentors. That's a big one, man. Look for mentors. Look for those people who are doing what you aspire to do, right, or who have done it. Don't talk to those who are just talking the game. They ain't done it. Don't listen to them. My dad used to always say, check the fruit on the tree. See what's the fruit? What has their fruit borne? What does it bear?
Talk with them.
Is there fruit or is the tree dead? Check the fruit on the tree. And if they know what they're talking about, then that's who you want to talk to.
If people want to, well, I already know they already know how to get in contact with you. But so I would
Facebook,
say,
Instagram.
just contact. You know what I'm saying? If you want to say hi, you know what I'm saying, just reach out.
Yeah, hit me up on social media.
B.
Hey, brother.
I appreciate you.
Nah, man.
I appreciate you for coming through. I just want to just see this last story before I go. So I met Blair. I was working in a barbershop, Sherman Oaks, 2011. Matter of fact, I think it was like October 2011.
Wow.
And I'm in there at this particular time. I've only worked at the shop maybe 6 months. The owner of the shop, he comes in, and I'm at my chair. He says, Skip. I said, yeah. He said, Blair Underwood's coming in at 5:30 and you're cutting him. I was like, oh, okay. You know what I mean? I'm like,
I don't think I knew that.
I'm like, what? Really? Yeah. I'm like, really? 5:30 comes through. You showed up. 5:30, walked in, said, yeah, I'm here for Skip. I said, yeah, I was by my chair. I was all like, yeah, over here. You walked over and said, what's going on, man? And we dapped up. And that's what it's been. You know what I mean? That's what it's been. And it's been like that ever since. And I just want to say I thank you. You know what I mean? I commend you for even just being so down to earth and so humble, even in. There's people out here, man, that you have no idea that have been in the game not even that long and so just hot-headed and just I'm on this pedestal and I'm, it's me. Not understanding that no, it's not you. It's God is gave you these opportunities.
That's right.
Once you begin to start saying it's me, and acting like it's me, that's when God will say, okay, well then you do you.
That's right. That's exactly right.
And earlier conversations, I began to understand that that's not your mentality. You know what I mean? And so, to just be down to earth, cool. I appreciate you. I thank you for giving me an opportunity to work with you on set, you know what I mean? To give me my first experience working on set in Hollywood.
Yeah.
Like that goes down for me like in the books. You understand what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? And hopefully one day we work again. You feel
well, no, we
me?
will.
You know
No
what I'm
doubt.
saying? But I thank you for coming through and lounging with me, coming through, checking out the podcast. And I thank everybody for listening. Stay tuned to the next episode. And until next time.
Well, hold up, bro. Before you sign off, let me say, I got to speak on it. I got to speak on it real quick. So, man, I want to say to you, and I've said this to you before, I want your listeners to hear, though, how impressed I am with you and how inspired I am by your hustle.
I appreciate
because, we've talked a lot just about, at the beginning, how do I even get into the business? And then, coming on the set and working, and you're talking to other people in the business. Again, checking the fruit on the tree. People like Sheila, give her a shout out, and many others. And saying, nah, son, this is what you got to do this, that, and the third. And take this training over here and invest money here to do this. And you've done it. And you've done it, and without getting all the details, but you've done what you had to do. You jumped through those hoops. And a lot of people, man, talk about it. A lot of people say they want success, but they're not willing to pay the price. And I see you've done that over the last years, and it's just starting to happen. Even what you got here, creating your podcast, creating your own opportunity, your voice, to get it out there, man, and creating your audience as you're doing right now. So now
it took me a minute.
It took you a minute, but you did it.
Yeah.
So many people don't even do it.
Yeah.
They talk about it and then they make excuses why they can't do it, but you did it. So it is my honor to be here and be able to support you and your podcast and what you're doing, brother.
I appreciate that.
Okay. Had to make time for that before you signed off.
All good. Well, until next time, y'all. Peace.